Yeah, you were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt you. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the home of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. There they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at the table with him. Mary took a pound of costly perfume made of pure nard, anointed Jesus' feet, and wiped them with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, the one who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He kept a common purse and used to steal what was put into it. Jesus said, "Leave her alone. She bought it so that she might keep it for the day of my burial. You always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." My friend Anthony has had a rough life. He was at a very young age, at the age of 4, he had been left by his father, his baby, and his mom took him and put him into foster care. And so by the time he was 14, he had been in 6 different foster homes, abused in all of the homes, terrible things that had happened to him, bullied by his siblings in those homes. Eventually, by 14, he was out on the streets, living on his own, and he got in with the wrong crowds, got arrested for drugs, went to prison. And he learned and realized that had he had somebody in his life to show him the right way, he wouldn't have ended up the way that he did. And so he dedicated his life to mentoring youth, to showing them the right way, especially kids who didn't have a father figure or an adult in their lives, to show them how they should live their lives the right way. And so Anthony was always involved in community things. Anytime there was something to do with a community garden to feed children, bam, he was there. He's always dedicated himself to helping other people, and always could never say no. When somebody says, "Hey, can you do this, can you do that?" If it has something to do with helping kids or the homeless or the poor, he's there. And so he went to his grandson's birthday party last weekend. Now, Anthony is one who appreciates all the finer moments in life. Every little thing, no matter how mundane it might seem, he's always appreciating those precious moments. And so he put on Facebook, after he went up to Milwaukee for his grandson's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, he said, "Rarely do I have such an opportunity as I have today. I get to spend some time in Milwaukee with my out-of-town grandchildren and their parents. What a blessing. It's a chore for them to visit me with all they have to endure to make such a trip happen. I'm very blessed that the Lord gave me the ability to look at possibilities rather than obstacles. It was easier for me to jump on the Amtrak and be in Milwaukee for minimal cost. I love all my family, and as patriarch, I'm in the lead, charged with displaying examples. I'm so very proud of each of my children as they have grown into the kind of responsible adults their mother and I always hoped they would. Able to withstand the pressures of life, make good decisions for themselves and families, display values that demand the respect of others. They say what they mean and mean what they say. I'm so happy to tell each of them that I love them very much and even more appreciative of the opportunity to spend time and show it. Clearly, I have some free time on my hands, and I thought I would do something meaningful." So he put that on his Facebook page last Saturday. And when he left, he hugged his youngest daughter, Ariel, gave her a big bear hug, and she's like, "Daddy, what's with all the love?" He says, "Honey, we have to do things like that, because you just never know." Well, I think you know where this is going. That was about 6 o'clock on Saturday night. At 2 o'clock on Sunday morning, his wife came home from church and found him dead. Water was running in the bathroom. And usually when the door opened, he would say, "Who dat? Who's here?" He didn't hear anything, but just with the bathroom water still running. And she kicked off her shoes and ran in there, and he was gone. Sudden heart attack. Because you never know. He was right. Maybe he had some foresight. Maybe he knew something wasn't right. Who knows? But you just never know. And he took advantage of every precious moment. And so, yesterday, at his funeral, his daughter couldn't. She tried to do her part of the eulogy and couldn't get through it. But she had written that, basically, that she didn't have to say what if. She didn't have to say, oh, God, I wish I could have said goodbye. Because she got the opportunity. They took the chance that they had, they made the best of it, and they have no regrets even though he's gone. But what really got me going was something that I was looking forward to. And that was the African-American pastor who did the sermon at the end. Now, I was pumped. I'm like, oh, in those churches, they don't call it a funeral. It's not a service. It's not a memorial. It's a celebration. It's a homegoing service. And I was like, oh, this guy's going to preach. And he got up there, and he said, Anthony was always into that community stuff. Oh, always doing something. And a lot of times he wouldn't show up at church because he was out there helping people. But you know what's most important? I got the opportunity to lead him to the Lord. He accepted Jesus Christ, and now he's in a better place because your life in heaven is much longer than your life that you're going to have here. But not everybody's going to go to heaven, you see. Some people are going to hell. So if there's anybody here who hasn't accepted Jesus Christ, you might want to think about where you're going when you die. But the good thing is, Andy and I had that conversation, and he's in a good place with the Lord now. And 3 pastors, we were all sitting there in one of the back rows and looking at each other like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. As if the things that he did in life didn't matter, as if it matters now where he is. Okay, that's important, but let's balance it out. All of the things that he did for people here in this life, all of the children who grew up to be responsible and respecting and compassionate adults because they encountered him in their lives, and that's just, oh, that community stuff that he was doing? Are you kidding me? Oh, it was so frustrating. You can't tell. I'm still bothered by it. But thankfully, Anthony didn't live his life in that way, thinking, well, these moments don't matter. Let's look forward to the future when we're in heaven with Jesus. He didn't think that way. He lived his life that every single moment right here on this earth with your family, with your friends, with everybody that you encounter matters. They joked that he could get on an elevator, and this is so true, he could get on an elevator and go up 2 floors and know nobody on the elevator. By the time he gets to the 3rd floor, he's best friends with everybody, and they're enlisted to help him on some community projects. That's just the kind of guy he was. We're always working, we're always doing something. There's always something to do. People to help, some work that has to be done, and we talk about taking that vacation, right? We'll go on that vacation when we get caught up with the work, or play with the kids when we get caught up on the work, or all of these different things. How many times do we tell ourselves that, well, we'll get to it when some of the work gets done? And how many times have we heard the stories that people are talking at funerals regretting that they always said, oh, I've put it off and put it off until the work got done, and the work never got done, and here I am. It's too late. How many times do we hear those stories? We know that. We know these things happen. And all of us sitting here still have an opportunity to do it differently. To take note. To give great importance to all of these special moments, no matter how simple that they may be. And we see such a wonderful example of that in the scripture today. Now, there was something with Mary and Jesus. We don't know what it was, but the two were intimate. It doesn't necessarily have to be sexual, but they were intimate, right? They had a very deep relationship. There was a great bonding, a great kinship between those two, and we can see it in so many passages in the Bible. In fact, recently there was a scroll discovered that mentions the life of Jesus. And some people say, I knew it. Mary and Jesus were married. Well, I don't know if they were or if they weren't. Now, even talking about it somewhat gets us going like it's sacrilegious, going like, ooh, Jesus married? Well, we got to remember that the Catholic Church, after Constantine, had good reason to make us think that Jesus couldn't be married, right? Because they wanted priests not to be married, and obviously that was a later development, but they didn't want this thought that those sinful women, those seeds of Eve could corrupt men with their sensuous ways, right, and turn them away from God, as we see so many times in the Bible, and John's petting his wife. So, the church had all the reason in the world, so they thought, to make it seem that Jesus just could not possibly be married. And so anytime you think of Jesus and Mary, you're like, I'm not even going to go there. And although I already went there a little bit, I'm not going to go there either, because it really doesn't matter. But they had something. And I'm sure that there were conversations that the rest of the disciples weren't privy to. I can imagine those late night or secret or private conversations when Jesus had already told the disciples that he was going to die. Right? The Son of Man must die and be raised on the third day. But with Mary, I'm sure that there were these conversations to say, Mary, now you know I'm going to Jerusalem next week. And you know that place is surrounded by walls, and those gates will be locked when I get inside there. He had just, as he's sitting there with Mary, and Lazarus is at the table eating with the disciples and laughing and stuff, Lazarus probably stank. Because Lazarus had been in a tomb for 4 days. There's something we forget here. At this dinner, Lazarus had just come back from the dead. I mean, the disciples are sitting there eating with zombies or something. Who knows what happened? It's weird when you think about it. But it was a celebration of life because Lazarus was back with them. But it was also, for Mary and Jesus, there was the thought looming that Jesus was going to the grave. And so the conversations, when Jesus was like, Mary, I'm going into Jerusalem, you know that they're after me, and you know I am not coming out. Once I go into that gate, there's no turning, there's nowhere to escape. They're going to get me. And you know what's going to happen. Because everything that I've done, everything that I've said, and everything that I've taught is against the Roman powers, and even the Jews in power. The religious leaders don't like it, and you know what's going to happen. They've already said it. So there was this private moment when Mary understood, as much as it broke her heart, what was going to happen. And so while the disciples are eating and drinking and having fun, and Martha is toiling in the kitchen as the great hostess that she was, Mary, I can picture her down on her knees, wiping the tears with the sleeve of her gown as she took her hair and dipped it into this oil, this nard, and started to anoint Jesus from his feet. Kings were anointed from their head. Corpses were anointed from their feet. She was preparing them for burial. Judas comes in and says, whoa, what's going on? You could sell that and get 300 denarii for that. What are you doing? Now let's put this in perspective. 300 denarii, 1 denarius was a day's wage. So that was pretty much a year's pay in that jar. We could sell it. Give the money to the poor. Now John apparently didn't like Judas very much. It's the last gospel writer, and say, yeah, he was a thief. He wasn't doing this out of altruism. He wanted to pocket the money. Well, we don't know. Maybe there was a vendetta. Maybe Judas was a thief. We don't know. But what matters is what Jesus says to Judas. Obviously protecting his close friend, Mary. Obviously very sensitive at the moment for this ritual that was taking place, a very precious moment. And Judas comes in and ruins it with his big mouth, says, shut your yap. She is preparing me for my burial. Show some respect. And he shut him up. And I can see that he probably tucked his tail between his legs and went back to Lazarus. Dude, you stink. But Jesus pointed out the most important thing. You will always have the poor, but you won't always have me. No matter how mundane the task may be, no matter how simple, whether it's taking a car ride with your son on the way to football practice, or on the way to college visits, whether it's watching your younger son play video games, even though it seems boring to you, be like, hey, if he likes this, put that phone away. The work's going to be there. Whether it's playing princesses with your daughter or feeding her 10,000 popsicles because you just can't say no, she's too darn cute. Do it. Enjoy the moments. Because the work will always be there. But as some have been painfully reminded, the people